Okay, so you're very welcome to the 5-week meditation course. It's the second one of these I've been doing online, and it's been very, very enjoyable actually, meeting so many people and doing meditation with you all. So Bernie, we'll get Kevin to get on with you there. To give a sense of what we'll do this morning, I'm just going to share my screen. Hopefully you can see that now. So what we'll do this morning is we'll have some introductions. I'm sorry, that's the overview of the course, isn't it? Sorry, my apologies. Hang on a second. Sorry, a sense of this morning. Sorry. So what we'll do is we'll have some introductions. I'll talk a little bit about posture. We'll do something called the body scan, which is a sort of relaxation / meditation technique. That'll be the first half. And then in the second half, we'll look a bit more at what mindfulness is. We'll look at the mindfulness of breathing. And then we'll do that practice. And then I'll talk about keeping your home practice going during the week. So there is a home practice element of the course. And just to say that I will give out full notes each week as well with all these details in it. You're welcome to take notes if you want yourself, obviously, but we'll be doing it. We'll be sending you out all the details as well during the week. Okay, so in terms of introductions then, just to say a bit about myself. So my name is Vajrashura, and I'll hand over to Kevin in a minute if he's not in the middle of a technical problem with someone. My name is Vajrashura. I work in the Dublin Buddhist Centre. I'm part of the centre team there. And probably like all of you, or most of you at least, I'm in lockdown in my house in Drumcondra in Dublin. And we've moved our whole centre online. So that's why I'm here now teaching you guys. I'd normally be teaching in the centre. And I first learned to meditate back in 1999. So that's 21 years, coming up to 21 years now this autumn. And I learned while I was a student in Trinity. And I've been meditating pretty much ever since. And meditation has been a huge part of my life. It helps me appreciate things. It helps me remain positive. It helps me remain calm. It helps me kind of be the person I want to be, I guess you could say. It helps me get in touch with something a bit more meaningful as well, and a bit more real and a bit more true. And it also helps me connect with other people and connect with the world around me. So I remember very vividly on my meditation course the very first time, walking through the campus in Trinity after meditating a few times and seeing the trees as if for the first time, you know. So hopefully you have a sense of that yourselves from this course, the kind of appreciation and positivity that meditation can bring. And in 2002, I started working for the Dublin Meditation Centre as it was then. We've since become the Dublin Buddhist Centre. And in 2007, I got ordained into the Triratna Buddhist order. So that's why I have this strange name, Vajrashura. And that's why I have the Kesa, which is basically signifying that I'm part of a Buddhist order. It's not a monastic order as such, so I live a reasonably regular life. But what it does mean is that I live a committed Buddhist life in the world. Yeah. Okay, so maybe I'll just hand over to Kevin. I'll mute myself and Kevin can introduce himself. So Kevin can introduce himself, yeah.
So I'm Kevin. So I've been meditating with the Dublin Buddhist Centre for over 6 years now, and I'm also training to be ordained into the same order that Vajrashura is ordained into. I live with Vajrashura, so we're actually in the same room right now at different sides of the room, and so I've been kind of involved with the centre for quite a while, as I said, about 6 years, and I've been supporting a lot of meditation courses over that time. But very few like this. I've only ever kind of supported one in this kind of way before, which is running parallel to this one, a little earlier, but parallel mostly. And it's very exciting to have this new medium and exploring this new way of communicating, meditation and the benefits of meditation, how to practice meditation. So it's pretty exciting and pretty great to see so many people doing this course. So my interaction with you guys would be mostly in the chat box. So as Vajrashura said, any sort of technical questions or any kind of questions at all If Vajrashur will generally respond to them. If he misses any, I'll feed them through. I'll be keeping an eye on any questions that don't get answered, to make sure that they're addressed in some way. So you probably won't be hearing from me much for the rest of the course. So this is my hello and goodbye. but I'll be engaging with you from the chat box. So enjoy the course.
Okay, great. Thanks, Kevin. And just to give a sense of I usually introduce the Buddhist Centre as well. So we're not in the Buddhist Centre, obviously. None of us are. But the Dublin Buddhist Centre was set up back in 1991 as a not-for-profit religious charity. And our aims are basically to help people like yourselves learn techniques like meditation to help improve the quality of your lives. We teach yoga, we teach meditation, we teach Buddhism, we teach lots of other practices from those different traditions to help you live a life of meaning, I guess you could say. So, the course has been run completely free. We're happy to offer this to you guys. I'll say a bit more about that again. And none of us are getting paid for teaching or anything like that. We're just very happy to share meditation with as many people as possible. Okay, so just one or two things about Zoom as well. So instead of being in person, obviously we're on Zoom. So a couple of little things. So because there's so many people on the course, there was about 420 booked on actually, and we've got 110 here now. And I know lots of people said they couldn't make it this morning, but they're going to watch the videos that we put out afterwards as well. So it's just impossible really to have a conversation with everyone. So don't take it personally, but we've muted you all. and because if we try, at the end we'll unmute you and you can say hello and stuff as well if you want, but it's just kind of impossible to have a chat with 100 people in a room, you know, and in the time we've got to communicate meditation. You can certainly send any questions or comments, as Kevin said, in the chat box, and I'll either respond to them or Kevin will highlight them if I miss them. And we'll have a period at the end in particular where you can ask questions about what we're covering this morning. If you're, so we've spotlighted the video on me. There's a couple of different views you can have. You can look at gallery view where you can see everyone, or you can stay with the speaker view, which will keep it on me, or the spotlight. I'd recommend, you can have a look around if you want, or if you're on, that's on a PC now, and that's at the top right corner of the window with all the people. But and on your phone, I think you can swipe right and you can keep seeing more and more people, and that's nice to see. But what I would say is during the session, maybe just keep it on me and lessen the chances for distraction. So it's only an hour and a half that we have really, so it's important to make the most of it. And the other temptation then, because we're on a digital device, is to get really fragmented. So I'd recommend just like quietening all your notifications and just staying with this for the next hour and a half if you can. Don't worry about that email or that WhatsApp message or whatever. It'll be waiting for you at the end and you can come back to it then. And in a way, it's like an hour and a half of holiday from your usual use of the phone. Yeah, and you can enjoy that. The last thing then, oh sorry, two more things. If your broadband is really low quality or you're having problems or it's breaking up, you can turn off your own video as well. So on a computer, you just move it down to the mouse down to the bottom left and you hit stop video. And if you're on a phone, I think you can tap on the screen and stop your video. And I find that if your sound is intermittent or if you're having problems with your internet or your data, that can tremendously increase the quality of what you're hearing. And we don't mind at our end if there's just people with their videos off. I'm going to assume that you're meditating diligently behind the camera without us being able to see you, okay? And then lastly, if you do drop out of the call, if your internet goes or something like that, you can just use the same link to come back in and you'll be able to come straight back into the course again, yeah? Okay, so that's all the housekeeping. Just to give a sense of the course, an overview of the course and what we'll be doing over these next 5 weeks together. So these are the 5 weeks. So this week we're going to look at, we're going to have introductions. We're going to be looking at mindfulness and the mindfulness of breathing. Next week, we're going to go a bit more deeply into the foundations of mindfulness, or what they're sometimes called as the applications of mindfulness. And this is drawing on a teaching that goes right back to the Buddha. In the third week, we're going to look at the practice, which is the development of loving kindness. So cultivating loving kindness, emotional positivity for yourself and for other people. In week 4, we'll look at how to work more deeply with distractions and hindrances that come up. And we're going to look at things that help us in our meditation to go more deeply. And then in week 5, we're going to look at keeping your practice going after the course. So how to keep things going once the course is finished and you don't have the support of coming back each week to the course. So that's the sense of the 5 weeks of the course. A few final introductory things. We are Buddhists here, myself and Kevin, and I'm an ordained Buddhist, and these practices are from the Buddhist tradition. And if you're curious about Buddhism, you can ask questions about that, and I'm very happy to answer it. But you don't have to be a Buddhist to do this course, nor are we trying to convert people to Buddhism, or we're not on any kind of commission, spiritual or material, to convert people to Buddhism. And you don't have to be a Buddhist to do these meditation practices. So I remember being told 21 years ago when I learned, and I think it's very true, that you don't have to be a German to drive a BMW. You don't have to be a Buddhist to use Buddhist meditation techniques. So I just think meditation is an incredibly useful set of tools that we can use to improve the quality of our lives, no matter what our set of beliefs are. And then the aim of the course is to help you set up your own meditation practice at home. Yeah. And I'll be asking you to meditate each day yourself, actually, at home during the course, in order to get as full a taste of meditation as you can. And I'll say more about that again in a few minutes. Okay, so before we go into meditation, I just want to talk a little bit now about what meditation is, and in a way, a little bit about what meditation is not. Excuse me. So at its core, meditation, excuse me. So at its core, meditation is a way of transforming our minds. It's a way of changing our minds for the better. If it helps us change how we relate to our experience, to what's happening to us. It helps us change how we relate to our minds, to our hearts, to our emotions, to our thoughts, to our physical experience, to people, to the world around us, and helps us upgrade our responses to that. At its core, most meditation practices are about coming back and cultivating calmness, mindfulness, positivity, emotional resilience, and clarity. And then using that clarity and emotional positivity to live more in tune with life rather than against life. Ultimately, meditation can even help us see the true nature of things from the Buddhist perspective, be much more in tune with how things really are, even the mysteries of death and suffering and so on. The main thing we learn in meditation is that we have a choice about how we feel and think about things. So instead of just responding automatically to something, getting upset with something, feeling stressed every time something happens, taking things personally, getting worried, getting attached to things happening in a certain kind of way, we learn that we have a choice about how we want to respond to things. So instead of going down the same old paths again and again, we can choose to respond creatively and differently. And that really is the essence of what meditation is, learning how to choose how to respond creatively to things. We tend to think we're stuck in particular ways, but actually we've much more agency than we think when we really look at it. And the two practices that we're going to learn in this course, the two main practices, are the mindfulness of breathing, which is an awareness or mindfulness practice, and the loving kindness practice, which is a emotional positivity practice, cultivating friendliness and love for ourselves and other people. We'll also learn the body scan, which is a relaxation, you could say, technique, but and that's very useful too. And they might not reveal the meaning of life, but I think they can help us live a life with more meaning. And they can really have a profound effect. They certainly did on me when I first learned, and on Kevin as well. So hopefully you'll have a taste of that as well. And then lastly, just to say what it's not, meditation isn't about escapism. So it's not about getting away from your experience. Meditation actually helps you become more in tune with your experience and more creative in response to that experience. So it's not about getting away from your experience particularly. There are a lot better ways of getting away from your experience in meditation. So you know, Instagram, social media, Netflix, shopping online, food, television, all those kinds of ways are really good ways of getting away from your experience. But meditation is about becoming more in tune with your experience, but also being able to work with that to enhance your experience. Meditation tends to enhance your experience in that if what you're experiencing is unpleasant, it tends to help it pass more quickly, or for you to be more creative with it. If it's pleasant, it tends to enhance and deepen our appreciation of that. So it's not escapism. It's not about controlling your experience, because, well, you can't control your experience. You can only, in a way, you just have to learn how to work with your experience as it flows and as it unfolds. And it isn't about making yourself go blank or go into a trance or astral travel or anything like that. If that happens to you, great, in a way, but that's not really what we're aiming at. Your mind can become very calm and still and not many thoughts arising, but and that's really good, actually. That is a very good thing to happen, but it's not about something really having crazy psychic experiences or anything like that. When you sit down to meditate, you get yourself as you are, and you learn how to work with that. Okay, so I hope that's clear. Do pop questions in the chat box if you want, but I'm going to keep on going for now. Yeah, so that's what meditation is and what it isn't. I think the best thing really in terms of meditation is just to do it, yeah, to do some meditation. So in a few minutes, we'll do some meditation. Before we do that, I just need to say a little bit about posture. So sitting comfortably in posture. So most of you will be at home. If we were in the Buddhist Centre right now, we'd have all these yoga blocks set out and you could sit on them and on meditation mats. And we go around and we check your posture. I'll show you very briefly the main postures you can sit in. But to be honest, I think at home, most people will be sitting in chairs, and that's fine. That's fine. Sitting in a chair is completely fine. So let me just slightly adjust my camera, and I'll show you the main postures that people sit in. So the first posture that people sit in is cross-legged. So you can sit cross-legged like this if you wish. Most people won't be able to sit like this. I certainly wasn't able to sit like this for a number of years. So hopefully my stripy socks aren't too distracting there. But what you want to do when you're sitting in cross-legged is just two really important things: is that your knees are on the ground. Right? And if your knees aren't on the ground, you can't sit in cross-legged. Your back will get sore. It'll affect your back, your whole posture, and your knees will get sore. So don't sit on the ground unless you can have your knees on the ground. And your ankles are in front of each other rather than crossed over. So you're not crossing over your ankles like that. You're sitting on the ground. Often when you see people like this, they're like this. I even saw it in an ad for gin a few years ago. I think it was cork dry gin. And I can guarantee if you try and sit like this for more than 5 minutes, you get a really sore back and you won't be comfortable. So you can sit like that. Don't stress too much about getting into these sitting postures. I'm just going to show you them briefly. The other way you can sit is, this cushion doesn't quite work for this, but you can sit in a kneeling posture like that. And so you're kneeling like that, you know, and the main weight is on your sitting bones. So the pressure isn't on your knees. You might need to be a little high here, you know, and you can sit like that. You can sit on telephone books, rather. And you probably want to be quite high so that there's no pressure on your knees or ankles. You can always put like a piece of cloth under your ankles as well. Sorry, you can't see that very well. If your ankles are a little sore, and you probably also want to support your arms. So I'll show you now. There will be a mention of this in the notes as well. You'll see some pictures. What can be good to do is get a blanket and support your hands so that your hands don't just slide down your legs and pull in your shoulders. And if you're sitting in any posture and there's just pain in your shoulders, this probably means you need to support your hands a bit more. So that's sitting kneeling. But really, I think what most people are probably going to do is sit in a chair. So I'm just going to get a chair. So in a chair, you just want to be upright, okay? So you want to be upright. So this, this chair is a little small for me, so I'm just going to put another block here. And you don't, usually how we sit in a chair is slouched like that, you know? And you don't want to be slouched like that because you'll just kind of go asleep a bit. So what you want to do, and this chair is quite low for me, so I'm going to put a couple of blocks on it, is let's just go back up a little bit. So what you want to do is you want to sit right back into the chair. So your sitting bones or your lower back is in contact here. And you kind of want to sit upright. So you can kind of see there's a curve like this, upright. And you're sitting like this then, upright like this. If you're in a sofa or something, you might have to, you know, support your lower back with some cushions down here. But really the main thing you want to do is to be upright. Yeah, you're not slouched, you're upright. And if you're sitting in a chair like this, I find it's more comfortable to have your hips slightly higher than your knees. And then the last thing you can do as well is, if you're in a strong chair like this, you can also put maybe like a little block or a briquette under the back legs. I don't know if you can see that just down here. It's a block down here. Sorry, it's a block down here. There we go. And it can just tilt the chair a little bit more, so it's more easy to sit upright then. Yeah. So I mean, for now, I'd say just sit in whatever is comfortable and reasonably upright. Let me just come back to my posture again. For now, I'd say just to come back to whatever is reasonably comfortable and upright. If you're lying on a couch right now, you might want to sit a little bit more upright. But apart from that, you're probably fine for now, and see how you get on during the week. Again, you can have a look at the notes to see a few more details of that. But the main thing, again, is to be upright, to make sure your hands are comfortable, and that you're not going to fall asleep because you're lying there. And you're also comfortable. You're not kind of straining to stay upright in an unnatural way. Okay, so I mean, one of the things you will need to work on during the week is getting a comfortable sitting position, because you will be sitting for probably about 20-25 minutes as the course goes on each day, hopefully. So posture is something you'll just need to keep working on. Unfortunately, it's quite difficult online to go through it with you in great detail in the time that we have. But you'll just need to keep working on that. So hopefully you have a position that's reasonably comfortable at the moment that you can use. Okay, so to test that out, or to settle into our posture now, we're going to do a period of the body scan. So the body scan is a practice where we're going to bring our attention through our body. We're going to bring our awareness around to the different parts of our body. And as best we can, we're going to see what we can feel there. Now, there will be parts of the body where we just can't feel very much, and that's okay. So we're going to start off with our feet in a few moments. And you might not really feel much in your feet, but what we're trying to do is just see what we can feel and to stay with that. And I'll talk us as we lead our way around the body. If we find that there's pain in any place, just try and soften into it, to open to it. If there's tightness, just try and relax it. If there's pleasure, just try and experience that without getting too caught up in it. So just seeing what you can feel mindfully in your body. Okay, so why don't we just make whatever adjustments we want to make now so we can sit comfortably. When you're ready, you can close your eyes if you're comfortable doing that. And just seeing how it feels to sit here now in meditation, in this body scan. Are you at ease? Are you comfortable? Are you uncomfortable? And bringing our awareness down now into our feet. So feeling what we can feel in the feet. Maybe the most vivid thing is probably the contact with the floor or the cushions or the chair. Or maybe it's the fabric of your clothing, your socks, your tights. Or maybe it's the temperature of your feet. What sensations can you feel in your feet, the soles of your feet? The tops of your feet? Can you be aware of your big toe? And the rest of your toes, how many can you individually feel? Might not be very many. Becoming aware of your ankles, even if it's just identifying where they are roughly on your legs. Becoming aware of your calf muscles and your shins. Seeing if we can feel our way into the muscles of our calves in particular. What effect that has, if any. Seeing if we can become aware of our knees. The fronts of our knees. The sides of our knees. Maybe feeling the clothing over the tops of the knees, the fronts of the knees. Whatever sensations we can feel at the backs of the knees. Moving into our thigh muscles, letting these powerful muscles just go, just relax. Becoming aware of our sitting bones in contact with the chair, with the cushions. Seeing if we can let the chair, the cushion support our weight a bit more. Letting go into that support. Becoming aware of the hips and the pelvis and the groin. And moving our attention to our lower back, becoming aware of the muscles around the lower back and the backs of the kidneys. Particularly the muscles either side of the spine. And moving up along the spine, slowly up the back, all the way up to the base of the neck. Imagining the muscles either side of the spine just opening, being relaxed. Becoming aware of the muscles around the shoulder blades and in the shoulders themselves. Being open to whatever textures of sensation we can feel here. There might be aches and tightnesses. Maybe we can just hold them in awareness, allow them to soften. Moving into the throat and the neck, the back of the neck. Checking that we're not clenching our jaw. The jaw is relaxed. Our mouth is just closed, our lips are just closed or just open. The tongue is relaxed. Becoming aware of our nose and our cheeks. The eyelids are just closed. The eyes have nothing to do right now. Becoming aware of our eyebrows, checking that we're not frowning. Becoming aware of the forehead. The sides of the head and the ears. The backs of the head. Becoming aware of our scalp, the top of our head. Becoming aware of the space behind the eyes, relaxing the brain imaginatively, letting go of any pressure or tightness that's built up. Allowing that to ease. Moving our attention down then into the arms, becoming aware of the upper arms. Muscles here. Becoming aware of our elbows, the bend of the arm at the elbows. Becoming aware of the forearms, the muscles of the forearms. The Becoming aware of our wrists, feeling whatever energy is in the wrists. Becoming aware of the backs of the hands. The palms of the hands. And the fingers and thumbs. So seeing whatever we can feel in the fingers and thumbs. Now moving into our stomach and abdomen area. Just letting this area relax and ease. Becoming aware of the sides of the body, from the hips to the armpits. Becoming aware of the chest and heart area. Maybe feeling the rise and fall of the rib cage as we breathe in and as we breathe out. And with each out breath, just letting go a bit more into just sitting here in your body. And now becoming aware again of the room around us, the sounds we can hear, our contact with the floor, the area, the building, broadening out our attention again. Starting to gently reintroduce movement, wiggling fingers and toes, taking whatever stretches or movements we want to make. And in your own time, opening your eyes again and coming out of the practice. Okay, so that was the body scan. Feel free to make any comments you want about that in the chat box. So it's a very nice practice to do to help us to get back more in tune with ourselves, to connect with our bodies. Most of us can spend a good bit of the day up in our heads, and this can be a really nice practice to get back in touch with ourselves. Roisin thought it was amazing. That's good to hear. And it's a lovely practice to do if you're, just before bed, if you're feeling a bit stressed, if you just want to relax. And there is a guided meditation MP3 that we'll send you at the end of today or later today that you can do it. And part of your homework will be to do this practice every second day. So just a few questions then. So how long would you spend doing that? Normally 10 to 15 minutes. You could spend as long as you want, really. You could do a very quick one in 3 or 4 minutes. You could, I think the guided meditation is about 15 minutes or so. Yeah. Zita said it was emotional. If you want to say a bit more, Zita, about that, is that in a good way or a bad way? Restful but challenging. It can be a bit challenging to get in touch with ourselves, you know, to feel things, but and it also can be challenging to stay engaged with the practice. Didn't realize how much we focus. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, we don't tend to tune into the body until there's a problem. Yeah, and people went quite internalized. That's great. There was one earlier question as well about a good beginner's Buddhism book. So the book I'd really recommend is called Introducing Buddhism by Chris Powling. Kevin, would you fancy sending the Windhorse link to that in the chat box? So if you're happy to buy an ebook, you can get that online at the moment, or you can buy it and they'll post it to you as well. Very, very good book. The best book I've read on introducing Buddhism. I base my introductory Buddhism courses on it, so we'll send you that. Good, so people found that helpful, I think. Found my neck felt strain only, but great. Okay, good. So your posture will be something you'll have to adjust. You know, you will need to keep working on your posture a bit, and you can kind of you probably start to see now. You've probably even now starting to get a sense of how important posture is in sitting comfortably. Yeah, so the tradition, I didn't mention the tradition actually, I should have said that. So someone's asking what Buddhist tradition we're part of. So we're part of the Triratna Buddhist Order and Triratna Buddhist Community, which is a worldwide Buddhist community set up in the 1960s, which you can read more about it on our Dublin Buddhist Centre website. Yeah. Good, okay. So let me just adjust my camera very slightly. Okay, so that's the first half of the morning, and Kevin's just sent the link through there. That's great, thank you, Kevin. So that's the first half of the morning. So just as by means of interlude before we start the second half of the session, so we have a whole, as I've said, the Dublin Buddhist Centre has gone online. So we have a whole host of events online that you can check out. So that's the second link there, dublinbuddhistcentre.org/online. And so we've loads of different things on there. We've lots of upcoming events. Every weekday we're putting out a little thought for the day as well that you can look at there. On the YouTube links are there, and lots of other resources and stuff that you can find there. The other thing to say is that the meditation course is completely free, and all the events that we're running at the moment are completely free. We are almost completely dependent upon donations at the moment. So if you're in a position where you can donate to the centre to help us to keep putting on courses like these for people, that would be most appreciated. People have been very generous so far, and that helps us to continue to do the work that we do. You know, we have a physical centre, we have a small centre, we have to pay a mortgage on that, we have a small centre team we need to support, we have running costs and so on. So we don't do any of this for profit, but we do need to keep ourselves going, and we're entirely dependent upon donations. And the more money we receive in donations, the more we can do, the more we can offer tools like meditation to Ireland and indeed to the world now at the moment, because people are tuning in from everywhere. If you're coming to a normal course in the centre, you know, we'd ask you to pay certain fees. But you know, if your wage, we'd ask 170, or if you're low wage, it's 130, or if your own wage, it's 95. This is a very different course because it's online. But if you want to, you know, if you want to give 500 euros, that's great. If you want to give a fiver, that's great. If you're not in a position to give any money, that's completely fine too. We're totally happy with that too. But donations really do help. So we'll give you that link in the notes and at the end again. And you can choose to donate if you can. Okay, great. So let's see. Is there any other questions? We don't have a particular relationship with the Dalai Lama because we're not this is a question now, not just a random thought, because we're not a Tibetan movement, and it's usually Dalai Lama is just the head of a certain Tibetan school within Tibet. So there's no such thing as kind of like the equivalent of a pope in Catholicism in Buddhism, but like the Dalai Lama seems like a very good guy from what I've seen, and I was at a conference he was in a few years ago in Dublin that was very good. Did I miss any questions, Kevin? Oh, I got one there from you. Sorry. Yeah. I suffer from anxiety and find it hard to wind down. Every now and again, I felt like, geez, hurry up, but I managed to surrender and stay with it. That's great. Thanks for that. Yeah, I mean, don't expect to be a really good meditator straight away, and don't expect to be completely relaxed straight away. It will take time and practice and energy to work with these deep-rooted habits that we have of worrying and so on. Karina is asking, can children engage with these meditations? Yeah, I don't see why not. Kids would probably enjoy the body scan, and I don't see why they shouldn't be able to do the mindfulness of breathing that we do later on. So yeah, you can keep in touch. Someone's saying they could hardly get any feeling from the body scan. Well, let's see how you get on with the mindfulness of breathing, and don't worry too much if you don't get many feelings. Just see what you can feel maybe, and you could focus on the breath and stuff as well. In terms of maybe just focus more on breathing in the body. You could breathe into the parts of the body that you're trying to be aware of. So you can even imaginatively breathe into your knees and imagine the breath there, and so on. Let's see how you get on with the mindfulness of breathing, and send a message again if you're still finding it challenging. Yeah. Okay, and thanks for that, Ella. Okay, good. So let's move on to mindfulness and the mindfulness of breathing, because time waits for no meditator, I'm afraid. So central to the next practice we're going to do is the mindfulness of breathing, is mindfulness. So mindfulness, you've probably all come across mindfulness before. You can't shake a stick in Dublin at the moment without hitting a mindfulness instructor. There's lots and lots of people trained up on it, and lots of people being interested in it. And for such a popular concept, it's in some ways very simple, and in some ways very tricky to define. So really what mindfulness is just being aware. Mindfulness is about just being aware. So when you're mindful of your body, as you were in that practice, you're just being aware of your body. That's simply what it means. Being present to it, experiencing it, and so on. So it's nothing particularly spiritual or abstract or religious as such about that level of mindfulness. You're just being aware. Just as you're being aware of my voice now, hopefully, you can be aware of different things like your knees, like the breath, like my voice, and so on. And what we're trying to do is set up a pattern, set up a habit of moving towards awareness, moving towards being mindful. Yeah, and by doing that again and again and again, we can have a huge effect in our lives. So one of the ways I like to think about mindfulness is that it's about inhabiting your experience. So when you're eating your dinner, or you're eating your breakfast, or whatever it is, you're inhabiting that experience. You're having that experience. You're actually tasting the food. You're having a vivid experience of what's going on. Rather than, I'm sure you've had this experience where you're thinking about something, you're worrying about something, then you look at the plate and the plate is empty and you can't remember having eaten any of it, or you can't remember any particular mouthful that you've had. So that would be the opposite of that experience. That would be not being mindful. Yeah. And your experience tends to be a lot better. Life tends to be a lot better when you are mindful. Mindfulness tends to make you more appreciative, tends to enhance the quality of your day. It tends to make you feel happier. It can even help you like live much more in tune with things. As I said earlier, it can even help you to become more wise and more free, according to Buddhism. So it's a very powerful practice. And the Buddha said that mindfulness is the direct path to freedom. Yeah, mindfulness is the direct path to freedom. So it helps us to become more free, because we can't really work with our deep-rooted habits until we become aware of them. Yeah. So by becoming mindful, you start to feel your body, you start to see your habits, you start to feel your emotions, you start to experience your thoughts more fully in a way, but it also helps us to respond more creatively to that. Can I, the sound is okay, Kevin, for you?
Yeah.
Yep. Okay, good. Okay, just check that the sound is okay for people. Yeah. So anyway, so what we're going to do then is we're going to use an object to be mindful of, and we're going to stay focusing on that object. And whenever we wander off from that object, we're going to bring our awareness back to that object again. And this is a traditional way of cultivating mindfulness. So there's lots of different objects one can use. One could use a candle, like the candle burning behind me. So you just look at the candle, and whenever your attention wanders off, you bring your attention back to the candle. You can use bodily sensations. You could use a mantra. You can use a mantra, which many meditation practices do use. One of the other things you could use is the breath. So we're going to use the breath because the breath is free, it's simple, it's present. It tends to tune us into your emotional experience much more fully. You don't need to buy a prop to use it. And you're always breathing right throughout your life. From the moment that you take in your first breath until you exhale for that last time before death. So there's a poetic quality to the breath. It's also can be quite a refined experience, the breath, being able to breathe in, being able to breathe out. It can be very, very enjoyable and refined experience, particularly as you get more deeply into the meditation practice. So what we're doing then is we're working with the mind's tendency to run off and get distracted. We're staying with the breath in the body, and when we wander off, we bring it back again to the breath in the body. And by doing that, you cultivate mindfulness, and that mindfulness then spills out into the rest of your day, as you'll hopefully see. So in this practice, what we're doing is we're being aware of the breath for 20 minutes or so, at least 20 minutes at the start. You might increase that over time after the course. And you're actually trying to have an experience of the breath itself in the body rather than an idea about the breath. It's an organic process. You're not trying to control the breath in any way. So if you've done yoga before or any kind of pranayama, you're not controlling the breath. Sorry, Pat, I see you're having sound problems. Hopefully Kevin can get on to you about that. You're trying to be aware of the breath for 20 minutes. Now, because 20 minutes is a long period of time simply to sit there being aware of the breath, we're going to do this in different stages. So I'll just highlight the stages that we're going to be doing this in. So I'll share my screen again with you so you can see this. So in the different stages, in each of the stages, we're aware of the breath. And in the first stage, to help us be aware of the breath, we add a count after the out breath. So we breathe in, we breathe out, we count 1. We breathe in, we breathe out, count 2. We breathe in, we breathe out, count 3. And then we go up with a count until 10. So breathe in, breathe out 9, breathe in, breathe out 10, and then we start again at 1. Now, the main focus of the practice is on the breath. The main focus of our attention is on the breath, not on the count. The count is there to help us to stay with the breath. So, and it's there after the out breath, yeah? In the second stage, it's a little different. We still have the count, but the count this time is before the in-breath. So we count 1, breathe in and breathe out. 2, breathe in, breathe out. 3, breathe in, breathe out. At your own pace, keeping the breath natural and easy. You already know how to breathe. And when you reach 10, you start again at 1 again, yeah? And by the way, I'll lead us through this in a few minutes, so you don't have to remember this right now. In the third stage, we drop the count completely, and we're simply aware of the breath. Each breath in, each breath out. And okay, great, Pat has sound now, that's great. Welcome, Pat. Pat, there'll be a video later that if you want to go back and catch up on it, you'll be able to hear it all there. I'll send that out to you this afternoon. So in the third stage, we have just mindful of the breath. And you can be aware of the breath in, the breath out. You can be aware too of the changeover point. So when does the out breath become the in breath? When does the in breath become the out breath? You can be interested in those kinds of things as well. And then in the fourth stage, this looks a bit more complicated than it is, but what we do is we notice where we first feel the breath enter the body. So it might be that you notice the breath first in the nostrils, on the lips, on the upper lip, in the bridge of your nose, in your throat, in your mouth. And you bring your attention to that point. And as you breathe in and out, you notice the sensations at that point. So usually someone asks at this point, do you breathe in through your nose or through your mouth? You can do whichever you want to do, whichever is most comfortable. I think generally people tend to breathe in and out through their nose, but if your nose is a bit blocked or if it's more comfortable to breathe through your mouth, just breathe through your mouth, yeah? But the main thing is you notice where you first feel the breath enter the body and you bring your attention to that point as you breathe. And so that's the 4 stages, and I'll lead us through that in a minute. But if you have any questions, by the way, stick them in the chat box. Just to say that what will happen, and I can almost guarantee this unless you're really exceptional, is that at some point, probably many times during the set, you'll wander off. Yeah, you'll start thinking about lunch, you'll start thinking about work, you'll start thinking about how great it is you're on a meditation course, and I wonder what else I can do right now. You know, you'll have all kinds of thoughts, you know, and your mind will often try and do everything but meditate, you know, particularly if you're in a rush state already, your mind probably doesn't want to slow down in some ways, you know. And you know, someone mentioned rumination there. So yeah, your mind, it's very hard to stop rumination. So if you find that you've wandered off or that you're thinking or whatever, that's fine. That's just what minds do. Don't give yourself a hard time about that, but just bring yourself back to the practice. And for these next few minutes again, stay with the breath and the stage you're in. Yeah. And even if you keep wandering off, the main thing is that you're noticing you've wandered off and bringing yourself back to awareness. And in a way, you're to congratulate yourself because you've moved from unawareness to awareness. Yeah. So that's a really good thing to do. Yeah. And again, you're not controlling the breath, you're just letting the breath be. So is there any last minute emergency questions you want to type before we actually do the practice? Speak now or hold your silence for 20 minutes. You can send them in the chat box. For everyone else, then if you're not typing, maybe you could just set yourself up again to sit comfortably for meditation. We'll be sitting for about 20 minutes in total. Okay, good. So why don't we once more just settle into our posture, just making sure that we're upright, alert. We're not slouched too much. We're comfortable. We have lower back support. Making sure your arms are comfortable and supported. They're not hanging off your shoulders, which will cause you shoulder pain. It could be nice to have a cushion in your lap to put them on if you have one to hand. When you're ready, when you're comfortable, closing your eyes. Just seeing how it feels to sit here now for a few moments. Seeing how your body feels sitting here. Can you feel your sitting bones in contact with the cushions or chair? Can you feel your stomach and abdomen? Can you breathe down into your stomach and abdomen? Are you at ease? Are you comfortable? Or are you uneasy? Are you uncomfortable? Having this experience of sitting here? And now allowing an awareness of the breath to emerge. So you're already breathing, you don't have to worry about that. And over the next few moments, just allowing that to move, to emerge into our awareness more. In particular, the breath in the body. Breathing happens from the nose down, not up in the brain. But particularly down in the chest and the rib cage. Just feeling the movement of the chest as we breathe in, as we breathe out. Taking maybe a deeper breath or two to open across the front of the chest. Keeping that openness as you breathe out. And letting the breath relax then and not be forced or controlled if you can, just letting go. If you find you're controlling, that's pretty normal actually, but just seeing if you can let it go. Letting go with each out breath. And our intention now in this practice is to stay engaged with the breath, to keep coming back to the breath. So just reminding yourself of that. That's what you're going to be doing now. You're going to be staying engaged with the practice. When you wander off, keep coming back to the breath again. And now in the first stage of the mindfulness of breathing, we're mindful of the breath, aware of the breath, and we add a count after the out breath to help us to do this. Breathing in and out 1, in and out 2, in and out 3, and so on. When you reach 10, start again at 1. But the main focus is on the breath, not the count. And if you wander off or get distracted, just starting the count again at 1 when you come back to the breath. And if your attention wanders off, that's completely fine. Just noticing that, coming back to the body breathing, and adding the count again from 1. And now we move into the second stage. So in this stage, we're mindful of the breath. And to help us do that, we add a count before the in-breath. So it's 1, breathe in, breathe out. 2, breathe in, breathe out. 3, breathe in, breathe out. And so on. When you reach 10, start again at 1. but the main emphasis is on the breath. The count is quiet and small. And if we've wandered off, that's okay. Just noticing that, acknowledging that, coming back to the breath and the body, and starting the count again from 1 before the in breath. And now in the third stage of the mindfulness of breathing, we're going to drop the count. We're simply aware of the breath, each in breath, each out breath. And we can also be aware of things like the turning points, when the in breath becomes the out breath becomes the in breath. In any case, mindful of the breath at its own pace. So we've nothing else to do. We've nothing else, nowhere else to be. Just here with the breath, with this in-breath, with this out-breath, leaving everything else for now. And now in the fourth stage, we begin by noticing where we can first feel the breath enter the body. Maybe we feel that in our nostrils, in our nose, in our lips. So spending a few moments noticing where we can first feel the breath. And now noticing the sensations at this point as we breathe in and as we breathe out. And if you wander off, that's okay. Just coming back again to the practice, back to the point of first contact and what the sensations you can feel there as you breathe. And now, staying in posture without moving or opening your eyes, letting go of the breath completely, letting go of any effort to do anything else, just letting the mind do whatever it wants to do. And we'll spend a few moments just sitting, absorbing the practice. And now starting to broaden out once more again, taking in sounds we can hear, having a sense of people around us or the building around us, the floor underneath us. Starting to introduce movement slowly and appropriately, wiggling fingers and toes, making whatever adjustments we want to make, movements we want to make, rubbing our face if we wish, and opening your eyes in your own time. Okay, so if you hadn't been already, you're all officially meditators now. You can wear that badge if you want. I hope you enjoyed that practice. I'm sure you got distracted during it, but as I said earlier, the point isn't to get distracted or not, although it's nice if you don't, but that isn't mainly the point. The point is to cultivate more awareness and mindfulness by noticing when you wander off and bringing your attention back again. And I think hopefully you'll find that it's a practice that enriches your life in the week ahead. Do feel free to type in the comments if you want, if you have any questions or comments on how you got on, and I'll answer as many of them as I can in the moment. Okay, so just to say that, and by the way, I'd say thank you, Sonia, for your earlier comment. I'm just seeing it now. Yep. Okay, so just to say a few last things before we finish, and then I'll answer a few questions. So what I want you to do, or maybe I'll answer the questions now because it might be easier if people are typing if I do it that way. Great, glad you enjoyed it, Una. Jessica was asking, should your hands be in any particular position? It's up to you. I'd say what's comfortable. So there's some, they're called mudras in Buddhism. So you can sit like that, if you can see that. I usually just sit like that. You can sit like that, you know, with your hands like that. That doesn't really do anything for me, I have to say. You sit with your hands down. You can't quite see that on the camera. Really, whatever's comfortable. Your hands are very sensitive, and they often become more sensitive in meditation. So just don't have anything in them, if you know what I mean. Is it normal to feel tired? Yes. Yes, especially if you're sleep deprived. Often when you start to meditate, you relax more and you feel more tired initially, but you will feel more refreshed by the end, hopefully. And also, if you're sleep deprived, do what you can to get sleep, obviously. That's easy for me to say, I guess. Yeah, you can donate at the end of the course, Margaret. Should you breathe in and out of your, I presume that should be mouth or nose. Nose, probably, that's autocorrect. Yeah, breathe in and out through your nose if you can, but if it's your mouth, it's fine. Really, it doesn't matter as long as you're being aware of the breath. One of us found that even more challenging, the other enjoyed it more. Counting after the breath came more naturally. Okay, good. Keep at it and just keep trying to, it might get easier as you go on. Difficult to quieten the mind. It doesn't really, I mean, in a way, it doesn't matter if your mind is very noisy. The fact is that it'll still have an effect on you, you know, and hopefully you're seeing that now, that it will have an effect. How do you get your knees to meet the floor? Flexibility, yoga. If you can't do it, you need to work on it outside of meditation. in and out through your nose. Yeah, that's fine. Okay. So just one or two last things to say, and I'll keep answering questions in a moment. So if you only come along each week now and you meditate with us here each week, you'll have that'll be great. That'll be really good. You'll have an enjoyable experience, hopefully. And but you'll never get a full flavor of what meditation can do for you unless you meditate every day. So what I want you to do is to meditate every day. And what I want you to do is one day do the body scan, and the next day do the mindfulness of breathing. Body scan, mindfulness of breathing, body scan, mindfulness of breathing. And that'll take us up to next week's course, yeah? And I'll send you MP3s of a lead through, or you can replay the video when you get it. It's the same time every week, yeah? And it'll be the same Zoom link again next week. And so I want you to do that. And if you do commit to doing that, you'll have a much better course, and you'll have a much stronger sense of what meditation is about than you will if you don't do that. And just think of it as you have to fit it into your day. You have to fit it into your day and make sure it happens. So I want you right now to type into the chat box when you're going to do it tomorrow. So I want you all to tell us. Yeah, there'll be recordings every week, Emily, yeah. So I want you to tell us when you're going to do it tomorrow. And that is a way of you committing to doing it. And hopefully do it every day. So some people do it first thing in the morning. Some people do it after breakfast. Some people do it midday, in the afternoon. Some people do it in the evening before they go to bed when the day is done. The two big challenges that people find, it's not so much being distracted in meditation. How long do you do it for? Well, you can follow the MP3 meditations, and that'll be about 20 minutes for each of them. Great, they're all pouring in here now. The two things that people find challenging is getting a posture that's comfortable and actually getting a time that works. And there's a story of a meditation teacher who's teaching in death row in America, and these are guys in their cells for like 23.5 hours a day, and many of them liked it, and some of them, one or two of them said, I don't like it. And one guy said to the meditation teacher, yeah, it seems really good, but it's not for me. And the teacher asked him why, and the guy said, I just don't have the time. So you have the time, and you have to decide how you want to spend your time. And if you can't carve out 30 minutes, 20 minutes in your day, you probably need to look at your life more generally anyway, being a bit cheeky there. So really do it every day, and yeah, during your son's nap or whatever, and best of luck with that. Okay, so is there any, so there's one question I missed that Kevin sent. Thanks, Kev. So is it quite tense in the mouth, in the face and jaw? Just seeing if with every out breath you can relax that. Maybe bring your attention down more here and not get too focused on it. Maybe just, subtly, if you have to subtly move your face and jaw, you can do that. But yeah, don't get tighter and tighter. Just try and look for relaxation in that area or generally everywhere. I don't think I've missed any other questions. Lots of comments coming in. Okay, great. Is it better to do it in the morning or the nighttime? It's fine. Whatever you do it, whenever you can do it, do it. The main thing is to do it. I prefer the morning time, but whatever time you can do it, do it. That's the main thing. Yeah. Okay. I'm loving your Danish sideboard. Thank you. That's good. The last thing to say then is don't forget that you can donate if you want as well. So maybe Kevin, you can put the link in the box again, and I'll email you the video and the notes and the downloadable MP3s and the donation link. It'll take about an hour or two to get the video together because Zoom needs to render it and so on. And we'll see you here next week at 10:30.